Welcome back. Now, our guest author this morning used to be an oil field engineer, then a banker, and all this happened before he decided to venture into the literature landscape. His name is Ekow Duker, and after the successful release of his previous two novels, Dying in New York and White WAHALA, Ekow is now back with yet another exciting offering titled The God Who Made Mistakes. Now, in this read, he takes the reader behind closed doors and into the lives of Themba and Ayanda, whose marriage is burdened by the husband's sexuality crisis, longing for perfection, and the wife's predicament of feeling trapped in a loveless relationship. A very good morning to you, Ekow. Thank you so much for joining us and welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
First of all, why this title? This is so provocative. What made you to decide on this title, on this name?
I think the title was actually meant to be provocative. And especially today being a Sunday, the thought behind it was to make people sit up and take notice.
Yeah. Now, without giving much away, talk to us about the characters, Themba and Ayanda.
Yes. So he's a lawyer. She's a lawyer as well. And so they find themselves in a loveless marriage, which is not that strange, actually. But what further compounds this is that he is struggling with his sexuality. So he kind of lives in the shadows, and she lives in the shadows as well. So this is the story of how their lives spiral apart and the impact it has on their extended family too, yes.
Now, you've had many attempts previously of penning this book, and you've also had manuscripts which didn't go anywhere.
That's right, yes.
Yeah, why particularly? What made it to this point?
That's a good question. So what I find is that when my writing goes well, it feels as though I'm actually taking dictation. So without seeming too crazy, I hear voices in my head, and they say to me that this is what happened, this is what we said. So that's where the inspiration for the book seemed to come from.
And what was it about the final edition or the final copy or manuscript of this book that made you decide this is the one?
Well, and I think for me, there's a point where the narrative starts to feel like music. So when the notes sound right and they're in the right place, then you kind of know it's done.
Yeah. Now, this book, Ekow, reignites the debate of why gay men decide to go for straight women and ending up marrying them. So perhaps this could, it has to do with societal factors, doesn't it?
And I think it does. And I think especially for men, and maybe more so for black men, there's a script that society places on us that says, this is how you need to behave, this is what we expect. So to the extent that a man doesn't do that, then it becomes very hard. And I've heard men say to me, this is so hard, right? So there's enormous pressure on men to conform.
So, and the research and the dialogues with gay men that you've heard previously before penning this book,
yes.
What has it taught you about homosexuality?
It's actually taught me that it's not that different. We are all humans at heart, and we all need love, and we all want to be loved.
Yeah.
The other thing that came through very strongly in the book was the important role that the mothers played in the story. So some for good and some for bad, but the mothers were hugely important to these men.
And what is it that you want your readers to get from this book after reading it?
That's a good question. It's what I like them to get is to walk away with a sense of empathy, and I think that's always helpful. It's very easy to judge and say that we are better than, but sometimes maybe we are not. Yeah,
that's true. Now, with your books reflecting so strongly on reality, can we expect to see some of them being adapted to films, perhaps?
Well, I hope so. So there may be some film producers out there, and we'd be very happy to talk.
Yeah. Talk to us about the state of homosexuality, particularly affecting men in South Africa. Where are we in South Africa in terms of embracing their constitutional rights?
And I think South Africa's made great strides, but I think we are still quite a way away. So from the homosexual men I spoke to, there was always a sense of being set apart. So as much as there are rights enshrined in the Constitution, on a day-to-day basis, you may experience hurt and discrimination. So I think there's still a way to go, yes.
All right. Ekow, great chatting to you. Thank you so much for chatting.
Thank you very much.
All right. That was Ekow Duker, and he was an oil engineer and banker turned novelist. He's been speaking to us about his latest offering titled The God Who Made Mistakes. Well, a read that explores themes such as sexuality, betrayal, and family dynamics, to mention only